Welcome back, everyone. This is Tucker. Let's talk weather. Severe weather is an ongoing threat. We're looking at how long this active period continues. And spring is in full swing. Get ready to see just how high these temperatures are going to go. Happy weekend, everyone. Hope you had a nice work week. And for everyone celebrating, happy Easter. Hopefully you find some happiness and some comfort and joy and all that good stuff this weekend. And nice weather, hopefully, where you are. Of course, it's not going to be very nice weather-wise everywhere. We're talking about severe storms, and there will be severe weather on Easter Sunday itself. And I'm also looking at a threat for severe weather in the following week. So we're going to break all this down right now, and I want you to be ready for this more active period as we continue into late April. So let's get into it. And we're starting here with our severe weather threat Friday into Saturday. I'm recording this Friday, so we're not going to spend a ton of time on this one. We're more looking forward, but I want to show you we do have this level 2 severe weather threat for much of the area here. Like I said, a lot of this is going to come overnight, and that's going to take us into Saturday morning. This threat for severe weather extends from southern Michigan all the way into central Texas. The greatest tornado threat is going to be on the southern end of this. That's also where the greatest hail threat is going to be. But as a whole, the tornado threat is on the lower side. It is more of a damaging wind and hail threat in general as a cold front cuts across the United States. We'll move this into your Saturday, and this is going to be afternoon, evening Saturday, even into the early hours of Sunday. The primary threat's going to be here across Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. It's that level 2 risk once again. But there is still a chance for some severe storms as far to the north and east as places like Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Columbus, Ohio. Not the biggest storm threat, but certainly there is the chance for severe weather. Could be some pretty large hail too in Texas, by the way. And the tornado threat, as you can see right here, greatest in those central Texas areas. When you see those brown colors showing up, that's like your low to medium tornado threat, but certainly something to watch on Saturday. Then once we head into Sunday, this, in my opinion, Easter Sunday is the main event, and I'll tell you why right here. You can see we have this level 3 risk, but I do expect that this zone is going to be quite extended as we get into the actual holiday. I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at a level 3 risk that looks something more like this and is more broad, because what I see right here is a real tornado threat as opposed to these next 2 days. And not to say the tornado threat is not real, this one is going to be primarily a tornado threat, probably a better word there. Still a chance for some large hail and damaging wind, but we're going to talk about why this is primarily a tornado threat, who's at greatest risk specifically, and I'm going to show you the timing of this threat right now as well. We're taking a look now at the jet stream, and this is important for determining what kind of severe weather you're going to have and where it's going to be. And what we're looking for are these brighter colors, which just tells us there's more energy in the jet. And you can see we have that jet cutting across the central U.S. right now, fueling the severe weather threat. It's going to be cutting across the U.S. still on Saturday, continuing to fuel the threat. And even into Sunday, that jet doesn't really die down. And the thing with Sunday is that not only does it not die down, but we actually have this extra piece of energy coming in. It's compact, meaning it's not very broad here, but what you're going to see are those red colors begin to show up as that evolves throughout the day on Easter Sunday. Those red colors indicate a powerful jet, and that's why I am most concerned about the threat for severe weather here on Sunday. That jet's going to be strong. You can see it's cutting up across the lower Mississippi River Valley for the most part, and especially close to the center of that low pressure system. That's where we're going to have a lot of energy to create severe storms and potential tornadoes. We also have instability too. I'll just show you this real quick because you need both the instability and the jet dynamics. And what you can see here is Saturday, our severe weather threat being fueled by the wind, but you got instability to create storms in the first place. Heading into Sunday, there's not as much instability here, but what I want to point out is that we still have enough for some strong to severe storms, and especially with tornadoes, if you have a strong jet, you don't need as much instability to work with to get things going. As for the timing on those storms, here we are looking at your late Friday night into Saturday. This is actually closer to about 8 o'clock at night, and you can finally see these storms starting to pop off here. They'll become more numerous as we head overnight and into Saturday morning. So Saturday, across a good chunk of, well, basically central Texas all the way into Ohio, we have the chance for some strong to severe storms. I expect most of them will not be severe, but there will certainly be some severe storms mixed in there. And that rain's going to continue to fall through a lot of Saturday. That front's not moving quickly, so there is a low flooding risk as well. So if you live in a prone area, make note of that. Heading into your Sunday, though, you're going to see these storms really begin to ramp up again across Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, southern Missouri. You'll actually begin to see our storm system I was talking about driving the severe weather starting to develop here, and you're going to see those storms right along the front. Ahead of it and to the south. So here we go as we get into the day. This is Easter morning right here. You have your storms across Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and it continues to spread farther northwards. I'm actually going to jump ahead to a zoomed in radar so we can get a closer look at what's going on here. And what you're going to see is basically on Easter Sunday, here we are again in the morning. Once we get to the afternoon, you're going to see these storms really become a lot more numerous across, eastern Oklahoma and to western Arkansas, along the border of Missouri and Kansas. You actually don't need to worry too much in Kansas, though. Everything out there is primarily going to be actually limited by a stable layer. But across Missouri, Arkansas especially, these are areas that once we get into the afternoon and especially into the evening too, we have that greatest tornado threat. So that's what we're looking at very closely for Easter. So there will be the chance for severe storms in the first part of the day, but especially the second half is when we have that highest tornado threat. And just to show you what I'm looking at personally, this is a little more science here. You can kind of see the curvature here on our hodograph, as we call it. See that red line, how it's curved? That tells you there's a lot of spin in the atmosphere. And when you have numbers down here, you get your SRH numbers that are over 100. You got plenty of spin in the atmosphere to work with, and those are the two parameters I'm looking at for the potential at tornadoes, and they're very notable. So again, we're looking at more of a medium tornado threat, especially in Missouri, but extending into Arkansas in the second half of Easter. If there is a warning where you are, make sure you're heading to the lowest floor of your house into an interior room. That's going to keep you safest if there's a tornado. And also be sure to subscribe because I'll keep you updated as we track these storms, and you can always ask any questions you have. I'll get back to all of you in the comments. Now, I also want to show you next week because I'm tracking another severe weather threat that you probably haven't heard about yet. That's the benefit of following a meteorologist on YouTube. You get these early updates. And what I'm looking at next week, you can see that jet spreading across the northern U.S. It's pretty flat, so I don't believe there will be severe weather, but there's a low possibility there. In Texas, I'm a little more interested. And you have, as we get into the middle and later days of the upcoming week, this jet that tries to get into Texas. Looks pretty weak, but if it does manage to hold together, there will be a lot of instability out there too. And this is going to be a bigger factor next week because there is so much instability. There's likely to be severe weather, at least down here, even if it's just more hail and wind, just from the amount of energy in the atmosphere. But you can see some of that spreads into Nebraska and Iowa, so we'll be watching that perhaps on Tuesday. And still, a lot of instability is going to be spread out across the south-central U.S. So Texas, Oklahoma, even Colorado, Kansas. I mean, there is going to be potential each of these days. We'll just need to wait and see how the jet behaves, and that's going to tell us if we're able to create severe weather or not, because we have a lot of instability. Again, it's that jet we're watching. I'll keep a close eye on Tuesday, perhaps in Nebraska, Iowa, and then especially in Texas Thursday, Friday, and even into Saturday, that potential for severe weather to develop too. Now, here's something that you may be hearing about, but you probably don't know the extent to which we're going to see, and it is the warmth coming as we wrap up April. It's been a cooler middle of the month in some spots, but that's all about to change big time here. So take a look as we look at the air mass anomalies. This gives us an idea of how warm or cold it's going to be relative to average. And as we head into next week here, everywhere you're seeing those orange colors, those are temperatures well above normal for this time of year. At least that's what will be favored. And you can see outside of this one storm system here bringing a little bit of cold air in, it's going to be very mild across much of the United States here as we get into that final week or so of April, and it's actually going to build that warmth as we head later and later into the month. Here we are actually on the 24th, the 25th. You're seeing a very warm air mass out here across the eastern U.S., and it's going to be very warm across the mountains out west as well. I mean, we're looking at what is going to be much more May-like weather than April as we wrap up the month, and that air mass only gets even warmer out east, and we stay very warm across the mountains. In fact, the only thing that could really cool us off is if we get any storm systems off the Pacific, which is being hinted at towards the end of April. We'll have to watch that just for bad weather in general, but it is going to be torching. Take a look at these actual temperatures. First off, here we are on Saturday, and anywhere you're seeing brown colors, those are 80s, where you see the red colors, those are 70s, and you can see just how warm it's going to be across the eastern U.S. In fact, we could be up to 80 to 85 degrees in southern New England. That's very warm for this time of year. A little bit cooler across the rest of the country, but by cooler, I'm still talking 50s and 60s. Move this into Sunday, it's going to back off a little bit, that warmth in the northeast, but it's still going to stay warm. In the southeast, it's going to be close to 90 in a lot of spots. Moving this into Monday, that's where we see high temperatures really begin to rise once again, especially in the central U.S. You got those 70s pretty far north. Moving into Tuesday, high temperatures will be in the 70s and 80s across most of the United States. Could be easily in the 90s in some of our southern areas. Then we really get warm as we head into Wednesday next week. Most of the country in the 70s or warmer. Heading into Thursday, we continue to see that warmth stick around, and Friday next week as well. It really doesn't die down. So as you can tell, the warm weather is here, and it is really here to stay as we go through the rest of the month. So if you like May weather, you're getting it early, and even June-like weather for some spots. But of course, if you have allergies, get ready because you know things are going to pop. So start taking those meds now if you haven't already, and get ready for a lot of changes on the trees. And with all those flowers starting to bloom, it's really going to be a very early, late spring, it appears. Oh, and by the way, I got this really cool map here. It shows you where trees are green and where they aren't yet. And you can see it's really just the northern tier of the US and some of the tallest mountains out west that haven't seen the green up yet. Certainly that is going to be changing a lot this week. And the northern tier of the US has already seen spring start early this year. So things are only getting popping quicker as we get into this warm weather to wrap up the month. So like I said, allergy meds are a must. And with that, we'll wrap things up. Be sure to drop your questions in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. I love talking to you guys about weather. I'm happy to answer your questions and just talk weather and have fun. So drop that stuff in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, all that stuff. And I'll see you right back here next time.